All right, so I'm sitting here with Matthew Crowley. Crowley. Oh, I already screwed it. Remind me again how to say
Crowley, like the bird.
Crowley like the bird. Oh, cool. I always say Brie like the cheese when I introduce myself. Perfect. Okay, so I'm sitting here with Matthew Crowley, and you're running for...
I'm running for Winter Haven City Commissioner, seat 4.
Okay, can you give us a little breakdown of what City Commission is? I think everybody knows what, a mayor is, but they're not quite sure maybe what the scope and the parameters of the City Commission is.
Yeah, so the City Commission is the most local form of government in Florida. So the City Commission are the ones that really help dictate policy for the city. They're the ones that have the final say on budgetary items, anything to do with like new development, infrastructure, anything to do with day-to-day life for somebody who lives in the city limits of Winter Haven. And even those who live outside of city limits, if you have Winter Haven water, the City Commission is the one that really dictates the policy of city utilities, and many people outside of the greater or the Winter Haven area actually use city water as well.
So what made you want to run for City Commission?
Yeah, so I am actually the 4th generation resident of Winter Haven. It goes all the way back to my great-great-grandparents. They actually helped found the community of Juanita.
Whoa, that's cool.
So they were actually the 5th house in the Juanita area. So my daughter, who is the 5th generation resident of Winter Haven, I'm really running because whenever I look around at the city, and being a parent is definitely something that changes your outlook on a lot of things. I want my daughter to be raised in a city that values her and her future. So I want to make sure that other people's children also have the opportunity not just to stay in Winter Haven, be able to afford to stay in Winter Haven, but thrive in Winter Haven and build a home here.
Absolutely. I mean, a lot of people, because I grew up in Winter Haven as well, kind of get that idea of like, oh, grass is always greener somewhere else, but it's greenest where you water it. It's greenest where you're going to put in the work to. So I appreciate that you're like, well, I see some problems, I want to tackle those and, do the work to fix my home. So can you tell me a little bit about yourself? I mean, you told me that you're 4th gen here, but I met you for truly 30 seconds earlier today and was like, hey, I'm going to interview you later. But beyond that, I've never met you before.
Yeah.
So I'm just interested to know who is Matthew Crowley.
Yeah. So that's kind of the scope of running for office. I touch people for maybe 30 seconds, and but I really do like to sit down and let people get to know who I am. I was born in the Winter Haven Women's Hospital in 1998, so long ago. I wasn't raised with a silver spoon in my mouth. I was raised by a mom who had to work sometimes 2-3 jobs in order to put food on the table and make rent. We had the basics, but beyond that, it was kind of, we'll see at Christmas type of deal. Whenever I was about 4, we actually lived in an attached apartment at my aunt's house. So in technical terms, that's called doubling up, whenever relatives live together in order to survive. And at 7, we moved to the house that I would be raised in until I left home, which was in Inwood. It wasn't in Winter Haven proper, but it was in that greater Winter Haven area. And it was definitely in a neighborhood that wasn't terrible, but I wasn't allowed to stay after a certain time. I had to be home, make sure I had to be home after a certain time.
When the street light turns on type of rule?
Yeah, the street lights turned on, I'd already better be in the house.
Right.
So, but I was raised by a good woman. My mom, I love her dearly. She's done everything for, to prepare me for the world, and I feel like she's done a good job. And my stepfather, he came into my life, and he was definitely formative. He's a Navy veteran, he's a sailor himself, and he actually, just by the way he's the one that not convinced me, but I wanted to join the Navy because of him, and I left for the Navy after I graduated high school, and I ended up coming back home a short time afterwards. And I could have been anywhere in the world. You know, I got a taste of Chicago. I got, you know, a little bit of outside. You know, the grass is greener outside.
Sure.
But I wanted to stay home because the fact that my family wasn't, you know, lawyers or doctors, and we had to rely on the city for a lot of the entertainment. You know, I was a young kid. You know, we went to city parks. We did activities at the library, free community events that were held by the city. Those were the things that I was able to experience growing up. And that's what left me with a deep love for the city that I was raised in and my family's been in forever.
Absolutely. I mean, we have some amazing resources here in the city. I went by the library today and was like, hey, everybody, because I hadn't seen the sensory garden or anything. That was the first time. So it was great. I mean, that sounds like a great way to grow up, is on City of Winter Haven activities.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I ask you a couple of questions about like your platform and
Yeah.
what people can expect going forward?
Of course.
So you're here in my apartment. So you talked about affordability, and I'm also somebody who every time it's time for that lease to go up, I'm like, how much? Is this the year that tips the scale? And you know, every year we get closer and closer to being like, oh my gosh, you know, because truly, I've lived in this apartment for 4 years, and in those 4 years, my rent has gone up almost $600.
Yeah.
From start to finish. So more than $100 almost every year my rent goes up.
Yeah.
So people that are in that situation and worried, and I see, you know, the new apartments go up there even more than what I live in now, and I'm like, oh my gosh, how can I do it? So what, if people are struggling or they're worried about it, or that's just a topic that's on their mind even for their future generations or other people beyond themselves, can you give us your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I like to set the example of affordability. Whenever me and my wife, or soon-to-be wife, she wasn't my wife at the time, but whenever we got our first apartment together, we paid $525 a month for a studio apartment right in downtown Winter Haven at what was called at the time the Georgetown Apartments, which is across the street from the Lutheran Church, Grace Lutheran Church near downtown. $525 a month. Now, mind you, it was a studio apartment, but other apartments that have been built downtown, their projected studio apartment price is $1,500 a month. Now, as somebody who lived in a studio apartment, I can tell you that's not very comfortable living. You know, so I don't seem to agree with the fact that a studio apartment is worth 3 times as much now as it was less than 10 years ago. And where we live now, we pay $1,500 a month for a 2-2 apartment, so that way my daughter can have her own room. And that's the cheapest we can find. If we look anywhere else, there's $17, $19, some over $2,000 a month. And how is it that somebody who, mind you, both me and my wife work full-time jobs. I work as a paraeducator for Polk County Public Schools.
Oh, thank you. My mom's a teacher. We appreciate educating in the schools.
So, how is it people who work 2 full-time jobs and they're looking around at not even houses, just apartments to rent, and they're going, that's too expensive.
For sure.
You know, and whenever you're on the commission, there are ways that the city government can help. In fact, one of my main policy proposals is any new development that goes into Winter Haven, and looking at contracts for existing developments, 10% of their stock of housing, I believe that if they get city money, then they should be putting back into the city itself. So if they receive city money, they should make sure that 10% of their housing stock is set aside for income-based affordable housing. So that way those families that work full-time jobs, they want to stay in the city, this is where they grew up, they want to raise their kids here, they can be able to afford to stay here. Because those developments are making massive amounts of profit. There's a new project that is getting built in downtown Winter Haven, they're receiving 20 years of tax breaks. Added up overall with all the tax breaks that they're getting, it's 20 years. I like to joke that my daughter will be able to drink by the time that those tax breaks are over. And they're receiving this large lump sum of city money. And that's the apartments that I was saying, where the studio apartments are going to be $1,500 a month.
Oh my gosh. And people don't consider that to get into those apartments, just about any apartment, my apartment I live in included, you have to either have a cosigner, which is what I had to do. Mm-hmm. I'm not embarrassed to say that, or else you have to make 3 times that amount. So you have to be pulling in $4,500 a month.
Yes.
And for somebody, young parents or single people or just about anybody that's working, that's not easy.
Yeah.
That's $4,500 a month is not the easiest thing to be pulling in. And mine asks for that to be after taxes.
Yes.
So you're looking at, you gotta be making $5,000 a month. That's hard. That is hard.
Especially, like you said, young parents, even just if they have a college degree, because they're so young, they're making less than other people who are in the field. How do you expect them to live independently? They're full-grown adults. They have a degree. Even if they don't have a degree, they should be able to live comfortably. Not just, barely scraping by, but comfortably in the city that they choose or were born into to live in.
Absolutely. So I have another question then, because you talked about working in education. My mom's a teacher, and one of the things I see a lot of people commenting on all the Facebook pages and everything, they're worried. A lot of people in the city are worried, and I think most of the state of Florida, but particularly Polk County, seem to be concerned about how fast growth is happening without infrastructure seeming to be able to keep up. Specifically, the roads seem really busy, the schools seem packed, it seems really hard to get into our medical facilities, and we have quite the aging population because we're kind of a retirement community. We have a lot of people that need access to medical care, but they feel like so many people are moving here, it's getting flooded. But then I also see where our small businesses are like, well, that's more people in my restaurant, more people at the coffee shop, I need them. So what's the balance? What are your thoughts on those concerns?
Yeah, so whenever it comes to infrastructure, working in public schools, we are a part of that infrastructure. You might not think it, but I work at Davenport High School. We have a student population of over 3,000 children. And we were built to alleviate Ridge. And Ridge was built to alleviate Haines City High School.
That's where I went.
Yeah, that's where my mom went. So, whenever we talk about infrastructure, we have to talk about the essentials first. Always the essentials first. That is making sure that our roads, number one, our roads are taken care of, because we have such a fast growing population. In fact, for a couple of years, the Lakeland Winter Haven metro area was the fastest growing metropolitan area in the entire country. Now I think we're like 5th, but still we're in the top 10. So whenever the city commission comes together and it's time to look at infrastructure funding and everything else that goes into the budgetary talks, we really need a commissioner on that board that's like, hey, let's slow down for a second. Let's take care of and make sure that what we have now is taken care of before we talk about a new baseball field or things like that, which I'm very happy that the city built a new baseball field because I played baseball growing up. But that new baseball field shouldn't come in conflict with roads that are basically almost falling apart.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think because I had a job previously where I would go out into the community and sometimes speak about my job, and then I would also hear other speakers because I just happened to be present at that meeting. And there was a lot of times that I went out into retirement parks, and there are a lot of the aging population being like, it's taking me 6 months to see my doctor.
Yes.
And having my brother was a teacher, now he's a comedian. And then my mom is currently a teacher. you know, when I hear teachers being like, I have 35 kids in the classroom, I'm like,
Yes.
oh my goodness, you know. But I have a lot of friends and I frequent all those small businesses downtown. I try and always go local for my coffee and everything. I'm sure when they hear 5,000 new people are coming, they're like, well, that's 5,000 new people in my restaurant. And I'm not opposed to that. I love new people. I like new friends. So
Whenever it comes to growth, and I think this is a hot button topic, especially in small or medium-sized cities like Winter Haven, the people that were born here or they're from here, they look at growth in a kind of disdain. You know, they're like, we don't need to grow anymore. We need to stop the growth. We kind of can't. You know, that's something that the city commission and the city government have no control over. But they have ways, and there are ways to have sustainable growth. And that's really what is missing on the board right now. Is it seems like every single developer project that goes in front of the city commission gets approved right away without any look at or any second thought of, will this not only help our economy, but will it be sustainable for the people who work here, who live here, who maybe have lived here their entire lives? You know, where is that thought of, when I go down a road and it takes me almost 30 minutes, because I live by 27 at the old Colton Arms. It takes me almost 30 minutes to drive from one side of Cypress Gardens to the other side of Cypress Gardens.
I believe that. Especially if you hit it the wrong time of day, you hit it 8 a.m. or 5 p.m.
Yeah.
Over.
It's over. Yeah.
It's
You're
over.
going to be late to work.
You're late.
So, and whenever it comes to that infrastructure, we have to look at, are the neighborhoods that have been historically underfunded. And there are neighborhoods in Winter Haven where historically there have been less investment into. We not only need, and I'm a fan of downtown. I am. I like our downtown businesses. I love our downtown restaurants. But there are other areas of the city that has historically seen less of that love. You know,
Sure.
And not only focusing on one side of the city, but making sure that all parts of our city grow and economically become successful as well.
Wonderful. So did you have anything else you wanted to touch on? Anything important, hot button issues that we need to get out there?
Yeah, so just a reminder, the runoff election for Winter Haven City Commissioner Seat 4 is December 2nd. If you vote by mail, the last day to request your mail-in ballot is November 20th. If you have requested your mail-in ballot, then those mail-in ballots will be hitting mailboxes and being mailed out on the 17th. So keep a lookout for them.
Awesome. And then I was on your Facebook earlier today.
Yeah.
Trying to think of things for questions, and I saw somebody ask, like, how can they help or be involved? I'm assuming if someone sees this and is like, great, I want to get behind that guy, how can I help? I know we're 2 weeks out,
Basically,
but you know, what can they do?
Yeah, so we have a packed house of volunteer opportunities. We are door knocking every single Saturday. We meet up at 11 a.m. We meet at the Winter Haven Library, and there we kind of disperse to different neighborhoods to help door knock. If you are mobility challenged, or you don't want to go knocking on strangers' doors, it's definitely not everybody's forte. You can. We have a flurry of postcards. We do postcard writings. We also have phone banks and text banks. If you go to my website, crowleyforwinterhaven.com, you can sign up to volunteer. I personally reach out to everybody that signs up to volunteer, and I ask them, these are the type of events we have, how would you like to be involved? And then I get them those list of events right to them personally myself.
Well, and you mentioned that you reach out personally, which was something I was impressed by, because I had done some recordings like this for when some people ran for school board a couple of years ago, but I already knew them when I did that, so I was pretty confident they were going to answer. This was kind of a long shot thing, and I was like, why would this guy answer me? I think local government, that's why it's so important, because you can contact them. They do hear you.
Yeah.
But I was like, what are the odds he's going to say yes? And then you're like, yeah, great, what day? And I was like, Awesome. That's great. That's cool.
Yeah, that's kind of the cornerstone of my campaign, is that personal connection. Because you can have all the money in the world, you can have all the signs out there, you can drive an LCD truck of your face on the side of a truck down Cypress Gardens, you can have the money to do that. But if you don't make that personal one-on-one connection with residents in the city, how are you to know what their issues are? And that's kind of what I have been doing for the past couple of years. I go out, I ask people, I listen, I go to city commission meetings, and every single thing in my policy, which I'm the only one in this race with a published policy that you can go to my website right now, download yourself and read. That's where my policy and my platform has come from, is over the years listening, talking, and working in the community to see. And, you know, even myself, I'm affected by the issues that are in my policy as well. What are the challenges that everyday Winter Haven people are facing? And that's what is the basis of my policy document.
So let's say after the election,
Mm-hmm.
whoever may win, how can people get involved with their city commission if they have these issues? Where do they go voice it? Are there meetings? Is there, how, you know, after the fact, how do people say, we had this problem, we have this issue, we want to get it out there?
Yeah, so the city commission itself, which is comprised of the 5 city commissioners, they meet the second and fourth Monday of the month at 6 p.m. They also have a flurry of boards and committees that by law have to be open to the public. They meet at varying times and varying days. But really, and of course every single commissioner's phone number is listed on the website. Please call, send an email, call, let them know who you are, show up to a city commission meeting. And it's really that transparency and the city commissioners, I will say, don't know, they should know, but they don't know your specific issue unless you go and tell them.
Sure, absolutely. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just wanted to clear up one thing, because I saw some confusion on Facebook about it. Anybody within Winter Haven city limits can vote, because some people are like, oh, he's not my district, and I was like, I'm not sure that's correct, but I don't know.
Yeah. So every single seat is at large. That means everybody in the city within city limits can vote for every seat. So it doesn't matter. The seats are just designated of how many commissioners there are. That's it.
Sure.
There's no specific districts.
It's not this street to this street can vote, but nobody else. If you're in Winter Haven, you can vote for anybody on the commission.
Yes.
Awesome. All right. Any other final thoughts?
I guess the final thought is thank you for doing this. It's definitely something that I appreciate, and I hope that we can sit together after the election. And
yeah, absolutely.
Thank you very much for having me on.
Absolutely, anytime. And thank you again so much for answering and taking time out of the schedule to come on down. I really appreciate it, and I hope people will appreciate having this recording to access and get to see what the platform is, and that you're a real person. Sometimes people see the billboards or see the cards and everything, and they're like, it's just kind of a face. We're so flooded with everything that we're like, oh, there's a real person there. That's crazy. Absolutely. So good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming, and we'll hopefully talk after December 2nd.